You know, I wish I could tell up front when I start working with somebody that they have what it takes to really get in the self-storage business. Let's talk about what I think that is today. My name's Mark Helm. I'm the author of Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage, and I support small investors who want to get in the self-storage business or who want to grow their self-storage business, strategically do it in a way that creates true wealth and a fulfilling career. And yes, it's never been harder to get in the self-storage business. Prices are still high, cap rates are still low, lending is getting hard, but it's always been challenging. In fact, getting in any business is challenging. And today, if you have no development experience or no building experience, I know it can occur daunting to think about building new self-storage, which quite frankly is how most of us are getting in today, either building new or buying existing and expanding it. And if you don't have that experience, I know that can seem challenging. And yes, you're going to have to develop skill sets you don't have right now. But here's the thing, it's always been challenging. You know, some people said, well, it was easier when you did it back in the 90s. Well, maybe. Cap rates were higher, prices were lower, but most people didn't know much about self-storage. Banks were reluctant to lend on it. There were no SBA loans for self-storage. Try talking to investors about self-storage. They had no idea what it was. You know, so there's always challenges. And it doesn't matter that it's self-storage. It could be any business, and there's challenges. Now, I know everyone's not cut out to be in the self-storage business, and I know everyone's not cut out to be an entrepreneur. You know, my wife says I'm nuts, but I just can't imagine why anyone who wants to be in business wouldn't be in the self-storage business. But that's just me, I get that. But here's the thing, not all of us are cut out to work for other people. It's not that we're bad employees, it's just that it doesn't fulfill us to work and help a company or another business owner fulfill their vision and their dream. Once we get that we can do it, or once we get our vision and our dream, at least for me, there was no turning back. And then when I saw what self-storage was, I dove in head first, and I have not looked back since. Yes, it may have been a little easier in the 90s and the early 2000s, but not really. There were just different challenges back then. You know, I had no money, no borrowing power, but I still got in. The simplicity of the business is its beauty. And when you get that, I mean, really get it, there's no turning back. And when I begin to work with somebody today, I'm listening for, do they get it? Do they know what self-storage is? Do they really get it? And I don't work with people who I don't hear that. Now, I'm beginning to see that's not enough. And again, I wish I could tell up front who has what it takes to stick with it and go through what needs to be gone through to get into self-storage business and who doesn't. There's nothing more frustrating for a person or for me working with someone who's all excited, wants to get into business, and then runs into the roadblocks that we all run into and the challenges we all run into, and gives up. Something else comes along that looks better, that looks easier. And the possibility that self-storage was for them in their life becomes a memory. I guess I'm not as good a coach as I should be, perhaps, because I can't see up front who has what it takes and who doesn't. And it's not knowledge, and it's not money. You know, I'm working as a coach to up my game in being able to help people identify what may be stopping them before it becomes terminal to their self-storage dream. And I'm not saying you should plow through, and you know, sometimes self-storage might not just be for you. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about probably a familiar experience where you're excited when you get in, things get hard, and then you never get to the finish line. I'll guarantee you, so if that's your experience, this was not your first experience with that. I'm clear that knowledge is not it. Being able to find deals and analyze deals is not the key. It's critical, you gotta have it, but it's not the key. In fact, too much knowledge might even be a problem. You know, for many people, they just don't know that it's hard and get in the business and make a success of it. Why? Because they didn't know all the challenges and how hard it was. They just did it. Now, at this point in my development as a coach and a consultant and a mentor, what I have been doing is I've looked at the people I'm working with and all the people I've worked with in the past, and I've tried to distill what I see are habits or ways of being that people who can go all the way and be in the business and make a success of it and create real, true wealth, not just money, but true wealth, a fulfilling, exciting career where every day they get up and have the experience of working and creating something for themselves and their families and their own net worth rather than somebody else's. That's, for me, the possibility that self-storage is for the small investor. I've been looking at what are the habits that people who make it have besides just getting how fantastic self-storage is. And I want to talk about those because those are more important than knowing how to find deals, how to analyze deals, how to project future cash flows, what can you pay today, what type of return do you need. All that's important, but that will not bring you success and get you in the self-storage business. Got to have it, but something more is required. And I'm here to tell you, it doesn't matter how big you get, you're always going to have challenges. I thought, you know, we're closing in on our $60 million portfolio number. And I thought by now it would be much easier to get financing. Well, someday I'll write a story or an episode on this deal from hell I'm in right now. But there's always challenges. In fact, I've created for myself that challenges are a good thing. It's the challenges, it's the friction that we rub up against as we go towards any goal that's meaningful. It's that friction that gives us the strength that we need to succeed in the business that we're creating for ourselves in our lives. So as a coach, I'm trying to up my game, and what I've done is I'm looking at what are the habits or the ways of being that people who go all the way and get in the self-storage business and grow their self-storage business, what are they doing different? What habits do they have that are different from the people who don't get in? I'm seeing 4 major habits or ways of being that people who succeed, not only in self-storage, but in any business endeavor and in life itself, but particularly in today's environment for self-storage, here are the habits or the ways of being I see in the people who are succeeding that I'm working with. First of all, the first habit is being clear on what and why. This is why we talk a lot about our business strategy. But people who can make it in this business today are extremely clear on what they're doing and why they're doing it. And the next habit I've seen is people who are successful today at getting in the self-storage business are being effective at the right task. They know what the right tasks are and they're being effective at it. The next habit is authentic self-confidence, like real self-confidence. Like they might not know how to do something at the moment, but that doesn't stop them. Why? Because they realize that whatever they don't know, they can learn. And I don't really know what to call it, except for now I'm calling it self-generated passion. And it's really beyond passion. It's like a necessity. Like you have to succeed at what you've created or what you're taking on in life. So these are the 4 habits. being clear on what and why, being effective at the right task, authentic self-confidence, and a self-generated passion or necessity to complete what you create for yourself. Now, I've said this before, one of the thrills and one of the benefits of being an entrepreneur or being a business owner is the necessity to live a life of self-reflection and continually breaking yourself apart and upping your game in life. As a business owner, in my opinion, that's required. Your customers, your investors, your bankers, your partners all depend on that. Now, I know we all know people who are probably dense as a brick, have no idea what self-reflection, self-awareness really is, and they're successful. I know them too. But they're exceptions to the rule. Don't you be an exception to the rule. Live a life of self-awareness. That's one of the beautiful benefits of being an entrepreneur and creating a business where nothing exists right now. You know, we all see self-storage as a great vehicle for us to create what we want for ourselves, but I'll promise you, it isn't the money. Self-storage creates real wealth. It creates good cash flow, but the real benefit of being in the self-storage business is who we get to be as we get in the business and we grow the business. It's who we become. It's not the facility and the money that create the fulfillment. It's who we are as people as we create the wealth and the money that generates the fulfillment. Sure, we have a team and we have partners and we have vendors. Obviously, you can't do everything by yourself, but it's your vision. You're the one who stepped out and you're the one who's creating it. And becoming that person and moving through all you've got to move through to be that person, that's where the juice is. That's where the fulfillment is. It isn't the wealth and the money. Although I like wealth and I like money, but the fulfillment is who we have to become to generate that wealth and money. Now here's the good news. None of us were born with those habits. Everyone I've worked with that has them, they developed them. And if you don't have them right now, the good news is you can develop them. They're just habits. Whatever ways of being you have right now are because of habits that you currently have. So I'm going to say something that may challenge some of us out here, but I invite you just to be with it. You were not born a certain way. Yes, you have your parents' genes. Yes, you have a certain IQ. I'm not talking about that. When we're born, we are all a blank slate. And frankly, much of where we were born, who our parents were, when we were born, what our religion is, all of those begin to shape who we are and shape the stories we begin to tell ourselves about who we are. You know, the good news is no one is born with an inherent quality to generate clarity. The good news is no one's born shy, for example. No one's born an introvert. No one's born a failure. Shy, introvert, being a failure, they don't exist. They're not things. They don't exist in the world. Those are just conversations that we created in our head, and whatever conversations we have in our head become habitual, and then that's what we act out in the world, and then that's our experience in life. You were not born with any inherent qualities. All of them have been developed, and they've all been developed by you. Now, I know that's not our day-to-day experience as we go through life, but that's the good news. If we can take responsibility for how we are now, I mean like really take responsibility for how we are now, and then develop new habits, what happens is our internal dialogue and our story about ourselves begins to change, and the habits that we just talked about will become second nature to you. And then when you look at the 25th facility and have to move on to the 26th one because you can't find the one that makes economic sense, you won't be stopped. Then after you got your third no from a lender, you won't be stopped. You'll go get the fourth, and you'll go till you get a yes. I know what stops us now occurs like it's something that's happening out there, like it's the market, like it's the lending environment, or I don't have enough money. I know that's what it occurs like, but it isn't. What stops us is our internal conversations that we have about what is so. Now the good news is you can change those. So what I'd like to do is take the next few episodes and really go into these habits. And I don't want to talk about them, and I don't want to just give you something to think about or a goal to aim for. The purpose of these next few episodes is to actually give you actionable things to do to create those habits if you want to. Why? Because from what I've seen, those are the habits that help people succeed at whatever they are up to in life. But particularly the people I've worked with who get in the self-storage business and make a success of it. Believe me, please, those habits are way more important than knowing how to negotiate. Those habits are way more important than knowing how to find off-market deals, than knowing how to analyze a deal. Remember, investors, bankers, partners, they want to do business with you. They don't want to do business with the numbers or the facility. They're doing business with you. It's who you are that is the critical factor in determining your success at getting in the self-storage business. So let's really dive into these habits, and let's really take on the practices to up our game at being a business owner and getting in or running our self-storage business. And for me, I'll be upping my game as a consultant or coach. Who you are is nothing more than the habits you have. So let's create fantastic habits that support what we're up to at creating true wealth in the self-storage business. And I look forward to doing that with you in these upcoming episodes. Thank you very much. My name's Mark Helm. I'm the author of Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage, and I'm the creator of the Self-Storage Quick Start Academy. You can go to quickstartacademy.com or creatingwealththroughselfstorage.com and find out more about the training classes we have that will support you at getting in the self-storage business. And be sure to be here next week as we talk about developing the habits that will allow you to succeed at getting in or growing your self-storage business. I look forward to being with you then.